And hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the journalist and broadcaster Jenny Kleeman and the broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what is on some of those front pages. Well, The Telegraph leads with an exclusive interview with Rishi Sunak, who reveals he's spoken to Boris Johnson ahead of the election. The Metro describes the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, as locking horns with Rishi Sunak over Conservative proposals to give pensioners a £2.4 billion tax break. The Eye reports that Rishi Sunak's Triple Lock Plus will save retirees 28p a week on state pensions. The Mail also leads with a promise from the PM. They say rip-off degrees will be scrapped under a radical plan to fund 100,000 new apprenticeships. That story is also the lead in The Times. The Mirror's headline, meanwhile, cops drop Rayner probe as the home sale claims against the deputy Labour leader are binned. Meanwhile, a former Israeli spy chief allegedly threatened an ICC official over a war crimes investigation. That's on the front of The Guardian. The FT hears that the water regulator Ofwat is drawing up plans to help financially stricken companies like Thames Water avoid nationalisation. And The Star says Alan Titchmarsh has revealed that he chucks slugs into the next-door neighbour's garden. Well, they know now. And a reminder that by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. As I mentioned, we're joined tonight by Jenny Kleeman and Ali Miraj. Thank you both for being with us. OK, let's start, obviously, with the election and with one particular story, front page of The Times. And that is Labour bars Abbott, that's Diane Abbott, from standing as its candidate. And there's two sides to this. There's this angle, but also that Diane Abbott, the whip, will be reinstated. And she, obviously, Jenny, is such a crucial figure in the Labour Party and has been for so long.
Yes, I mean, she's been an MP for 37 years. She's the first black woman to be elected as an MP. She's an incredibly important part of Labour's history. But yes, these two messages, at first you think that they're saying opposite things, but when you drill down into the detail, what's happened is she's going to have the whip restored, supposedly so that she can leave with dignity, according to what The Times is saying here. But the National Executive Committee is going to bar her from standing again as an MP for Hackney North and Stoke Newington, which is a very safe Labour seat. And you know, Keir Starmer is ruthless. We have seen him when he first came out when the election was called, standing in front of a podium. We're used to these three-word slogans like take back control, get Brexit done. He has a one-word slogan, which is change. And he wants to be the change candidate, and he wants to show the world that he has changed the Labour Party. And he has got rid of any elements that could be connected to anti-Semitism, and you might say any elements that might be seen as hard left. But certainly, with Diane Abbott, she wrote a letter which was very ill-advised. She said it was an earlier draft of a letter, but it was nonetheless a letter which basically compared the discrimination that Jewish people and Irish travellers face to discriminations that redheads face. There was no need, really, for her to write this letter. But what is interesting is there's some reports coming out. BBC Newsnight has found out that is reporting that the party's internal investigation concluded in December, which means that if that's true, that means that either Keir Starmer knew about this and hasn't been honest, or he hasn't been properly informed about this investigation. So either way, it's not looking great. But you have to really feel for Diane Abbott, who has been strung along for such a long time in the wake of these Frank Hester horrific racist comments that were made, the Tory donor who said that Diane Abbott makes you want to hate all black women. She's had a really rough few months, and she's really been through the ringer over this. And you can see that a lot of unnecessary pain could have been avoided. But again, doing it this way means that the Labour Party don't have to go through the normal processes of getting a candidate. They can just put in their preferred candidate. They've sort of been riding down the clock in order to allow this to happen.
And she had apologised for the comments.
Yes, she had. She had.
Ali.
Look, Diane Abbott made a complete boo-boo, let's put it politely, when she wrote that letter. I mean, it was completely... What she was trying to imply was that people who face discrimination in a different way, it's not the same kind of discrimination that black people face. Now, I think it was very ill-advised. She did apologise, and I think that's to her credit that she did so, and she did so swiftly. Jenny says Keir Starmer's ruthless, and he is, and he should be. If he wants to be Prime Minister, there are no prizes for being, cuddly and friendly to everyone. He wants to purge the party of the hard left. That's exactly what he's done. He's done it with Jeremy Corbyn. He's done it with Dan Abbott. Now, the interesting thing for the Labour Party is that if you go to Islington North and speak to some of their activists, they're up for Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, he may be the next Ken Livingstone for them in Islington North. He's very popular. He's been there for like 40 years. But clearly, Keir Starmer wants to show that he has made an absolute break with the past. The anti-Semitism thing was hanging over the party with Corbyn. There was an Equality and Human Rights Commission report that reported and banged the party to rights on anti-Semitism. A number of cases have not been looked into. Two specifically they had referenced were not dealt with properly. And Corbyn was living in denial. He could have actually stood as a Labour candidate if he had accepted the fact that there was anti-Semitism under his watch, even though no one is saying that he himself is anti-Semitic, but he presided over a party that was perceived to be that way. So he's a master of his own making. So I think Keir Starmer is being ruthless. The left is being purged. I feel sorry for Dan Abbott on a human level, but she's been there for years. I think it's like, she's collateral damage in this, but it is what it is.
Let's take a look at another person, key person within the Labour Party. Front page of the Daily Mirror. Cops drop Rayner probe, and this, of course, is, the probe into the living arrangements of Angela Rayner, which, we spoke about for ages, a few months ago, and now it's all been dropped. So good news for Labour.
Yeah, well, it's the probe into her tax affairs, which was made a criminal matter, or rather referred to the police by a Conservative MP. The police said it wasn't a criminal matter. They had referred the case to the local council, who says they were not taking action. Labour says HMRC say they're not going to proceed any further. So a kind of line has been drawn under this. You have to ask whether or not this is a wise use of police time at a time when, people don't trust the police to investigate when they've been burgled. And this is a story that has been an obsession of the right-wing press. It's like Keir Starmer's beer and curry night to distract from much bigger Tory scandals at the same time. Some people have really have got this between their teeth, this Angela Rayner thing. But, you have three different public bodies saying they're not going to do anything about it. She would certainly hope that a line has been drawn under it.
But HMRC haven't come out, have they, Jenny?
Labour say that HMRC...
Really?
Have,
OK,
yes.
Interesting, because it was being reported on the front of the Telegraph that it's not quite the case. HMRC's not saying much, but if that's clear, then clearly this has been cleared up. Look, the police are not investigating it, that's clear. It was to do with whether this house that was sold was her main residence or not, and whether she was on the electoral roll. That's been cleared up. HMRC were meant to be investigating whether capital gains was meant to be paid and all of this stuff, and they weren't commenting so far, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
OK. Well, let's look at some of the policies, because a little bit of that came out today as well. Front page of the Metro, headline there, locking horns, tax battle rages over pensions, various announcements. So Sunak and his triple lock plus announcement, and we also heard from Rachel Reeves. Ali, what have you made of, I suppose, the first proper economic policies that we hear in this election campaign?
Well, look, I think there are two things that happened today, Barbara. One was Sunak announcing his triple lock plus, keeping the triple lock, the higher of inflation, 2.5% on average earnings. That is a sacred cow. Even Labour is not touching that one because they all want to get the grey vote. But this plus thing is around the allowances and the fact that it will benefit pensioners to the tune of about £428 in the coming year, £100 per year after that. It's pie in the sky. It's nothing. It's not even a rounding error. The disappointing thing about this is, and clearly we're not going to get any real policies in an election campaign, is the fact that fundamentally you have to have a rethink on pensions. We've got an ageing population. We've got a birth rate that's 1.5 per average woman in this country. We have a structural problem. We're not the only country in the world that has it, by the way. A lot of Western countries have it, where we are going to be funding pensions to the extent that we can't really afford it. The pension age is already going up from 67 to 68. In France, they had riots on the streets when they were increasing it to 62 to 64. So we're not the only country, but not a peep out of Rishi Sunak on the fundamentals of it. It's just window dressing. Rachel Reeves, on the other hand, yes, she got the endorsement of, 160 leaders or whatever it was. Yeah. Some say it's second tier, a little bit unfair. I speak to business leaders every day of the week, and I tell you this, no one is scared about Labour. No one's particularly enthused, but they're not scared. They were scared under Corbyn. They're not scared now. they're perfectly fine. And in fact, she's been engaging with business leaders around infrastructure investment, around the sovereign wealth fund that she wants to set up. They take her seriously. She's an ex-Bank of England economist. She's a serious figure. No one is scared of Labour.
Jenny, before we come to you, let's just look at the front page of the Financial Times, where they mention Rachel Reeves' headline there. Reeves rules out surprise tax rises and bid to bolster economic credentials. So, Ali, going back to what you were mentioning.
Yes, I mean, her whole thing is focusing on economic stability. She keeps saying over and over again this whole thing, I've been very clear, which I can't bear it when politicians say it. It generally means they haven't been clear. But there's going to be, you know, that she can't have a quick budget because the OBR has to go through all her figures. They're desperate to portray themselves as a safe pair of hands. And look, in terms of this triple lock plus, this is the Conservatives appealing to their core vote, which is older people. And we've seen from their whole thing about national service that they're not really thinking about appealing to young people. They're retreating back into the safest possible ground in terms of who will vote for them. And as Ali says, the triple lock itself, you know, it's costing an extra £11 billion a year. It is a sacred cow. It is not viable in the long term with an ageing population. And the only reason why we have 6 out of 10 people who are pensioners about to pay income tax on their pensions is because of fiscal drag and because of not changing those boundaries. So it's all very much kind of tinkering around the edges. And the thing that concerns me in all of this is that, you know, the Conservatives are saying that they're going to fund this triple lock plus out of this £6 billion that they say they're going to save.
Let me just bring up the front page of the Eye, because we kind of get into that. So front page of the Eye, triple lock plus to save retirees 20p a week on state pensions. But then they have various points there, just you know, the fine-tuning of the details.
Yes, but they say that they're going to find £6 billion by clamping down on tax evasion and avoidance. And it's like, if this is, why haven't they done this before? If they've all of a sudden found a new way of doing this, it's extremely concerning. All of this just
tax evasion. Clamping down on tax evasion is always the envelope down the back of the sofa in every election.
Well, why haven't they been down the back of the sofa before? They've had 14 years to go there. Well, indeed, you're absolutely right. Look,
the interesting thing, though, from the Labour side is that Rachel Reeves is being very, very cautious around tax. The signalling she's giving is very, very limited tax changes. There'll be something on private equity executives in terms of how they do their thing, a VAT on school fees, the non-dom clampdown, but very little else. I mean, if you are a hardcore leftist Labour supporter, we're thinking that our public services are underfunded and there's going to be cash to splash around, you're sadly mistaken. There isn't going to be any cash. There's 2.7 trillion of public debt. We're in a mess. She realises that. That's why we're being so cautious about any public spending commitments.
Okay. Ali, Jenny, stay with us. Lots more coming up, including, is it up to the government of the day to decide which university degrees are worth having? Will the Conservatives reportedly think so? We'll discuss that next. You're watching the press preview with me now, Jenny Kleeman and Ali Miraj. OK, let's go straight to the Daily Mail. Front page here, Tory vow to ban rip-off university degrees by changing the law. And they call them Mickey Mouse courses. Interesting story, Ali, I think, to have on the front of the Mail at
that's right.
busy times.
That's right, Barbara. They're saying that up to 1 in 8 students could see Mickey Mouse courses axed in this radical plan. This is something that's been in the Tory sights for a while. They feel that there are some courses that simply are not delivering value for money. They're not actually leading to great jobs. People are getting to increasing amounts of student debt. And in some cases, they link it to the immigration issue, where some people are using university courses as a backdoor to come in here on 2-year work visas, right? So that's the background to the plan.
I know we just have the front pages, but do they mention any, do they give examples of any degrees?
They talk about, apparently, according to the Mail here, it says dropout rates, job progression and earnings potential will all be addressed to determine the worst courses and force them to close, which, for me, really concerns me as someone who studied the arts. There is a whiff in all of this that only STEM degrees are worthwhile, or degrees that will lead to high-paying jobs, and that the point of an education is purely getting a job. And it concerns me, because what does that mean if you're going to study philosophy? Is that a Mickey Mouse degree? Where do you draw the line? If the barometer of what a good degree is how much you're going to get paid and how easy it is to have job progression afterwards, it concerns me.
That is actually a very good point. You'll be interesting to see what they think a valid degree is, because you're absolutely right. If you come out with a degree and you go into the arts, what does that mean? I think that there have been a lot of universities that have sprung up and offering courses which, frankly, are costing a lot of money, 9,250 quid a year. In fact, that's also being subsidised by the number of people coming in. And are these people actually getting graduate-level jobs when they come out is the question. In many cases, no.
Let's take a quick look at the Guardian front page. Labour vows to clear NHS waiting lists in 5 years. Obviously, this, Jenny, a crucial point for so many people.
Absolutely. And Wes Streeting here saying that the fear is that what will happen to the NHS is what we've seen happen to NHS dentistry, which they know is something that's really going to frighten people, the idea that it will be impossible to see a doctor like it's impossible to see a dentist. But, you know, a promise of clearing it within 5 years is really depressing, I would say.
You see, I think Wes Streeting, the Shadow Health Secretary, is a gutsy guy. Because, look, he's got the cover of the left knowing that Nye Bevan set up the NHS, right? So Labour is always going to be trusted more than the Tories on the NHS. This guy, Streeting, has got guts. He's coming out and saying that there's a cultural rot in the NHS, that we should not treat the NHS as a shrine, it's a service. It is there to serve people, and that there is this feeling that it's beyond reproach. So if you're a whistleblower in the NHS, and he points to Mid-Staffordshire, he points to the infected blood scandal, to other scandals that have taken place, including at maternity units, there is this feeling that because it's a sacred cow, it's the national religion. It is as close to a national religion as we have. That's hampering this. So he wants to actually have a duty of radical candour from people in the service. That's one. He wants to increase the number of appointments to 40,000 a week. Let's see if he's successful there. He's willing to take action. Good for him, but there's no cash.
40 seconds. Let's finish on something a little bit lighter. Let's go to the Times, page 6 and 7. Ed Davey. Now, they were highlighting, of course, the issues with the waterways. Now, those are the pictures, but we have live pictures because our very, very brave Matthew Thompson, our correspondent, that's not him. So Ed Davey falling in. And then our correspondent was there as well, trying to interview him.
Do you know what? I think this might have been not unintentional, I would say. The Lib Dems, they do these stunts. They know that it will get on the news. It's an eye-catching policy that people would agree with. But given that he's saying that Lake Windermere is full of sewage, he's a brave man to want to fall into.
Does it work, Ali, do you think?
Well, look, I haven't heard much from the Lib Dems in terms of policy or anything, or Ed Davey much either, other than the fact that if you are in a southern Tory seat in the blue wall, you should be quaking in your boots. The Lib Dems, the yellow peril is out to get you.
All right. Ali Miraj, Jenny Kleeman, we'll leave it there for now.